tea and it's hot like steam. Brutsy and Kitty, we here to play. Life and gossip every single day. Laugh a little louder, who needs control? It's the Brutsy and Kitty show.
Good evening, good people. You are watching Brudsy Entertainment. I am joined with a very special guest, the lovely Maya Sinstress.
Maya Sinstress.
Maya Sinstress. Maya, how are you? I had one job and I messed it up.
That is perfectly okay. I'm doing well. It's daytime here for us. I'm in Las Vegas. So yeah, it's 1 p.m. here, and it's a start to a great day.
Shout out to you, girl. Okay, so as you know, like I said to you, one of the things I like to do is I like to find out a little bit about my guests, how they became who they are. Often with dominatrix women, when they're growing up, they were totally different to how they are today. What would you say? What would you say the transition was like growing up? Like if you used to look back 10 years, if you used to look back 20 years, let's say, what would you be like today?
In terms of how different I would be today,
Indeed, yeah.
I would say not very different at all, except for I have a much lower span of bullshit that I will tolerate.
Okay.
But you have to keep in mind, I've been a dominatrix for, it'll be 26 years in December. Wow. So I've been in this for more than half of my life. So I don't think I've changed that much.
Okay.
20 years.
Okay. And have you lost any friends or family members? Like, what did your friends and family think about this sort of choice of life?
I don't think I've lost anyone specifically because I choose to be in the adult industry. I'm still close with my mom and my siblings, so that wasn't a factor for me. And I don't think there's too many people in my personal life that were so, offended or shocked that they couldn't get over it. Nobody comes to mind in particular. So,
well, so it's rare. I mean, I speak to a lot of people, and obviously, especially the adult industry as well. Like, people tend to judge people based on what they do, and being in the adult industry is obviously something that people do like to sort of pick at. It's very interesting because I always say there's so many normally women that have so much judgment for women that choose to go down this line, and I always say to them, like, with the cost of living and how things are in general, like, life, just not everyone's given the easy life. Like, some people get handouts and, they don't see the struggles of the normal life like normal people deal with. So, we got a kitty cat.
Hello. Your first cameo. She's got to come up, otherwise she's not going to go away.
No. This is a pet friendly. We always get pets jump up and do something interesting. But
matters how people find out too. So say if you have good friends and you weren't just straightforward with them when they asked, like, I started off when I was in college and people would ask, why are you leaving for our lunch break and always coming back late with a lot of makeup on? And I was honest about it and was like, I work at a dungeon and sometimes I see clients on my lunch break. I think it's different if you're straightforward with someone than having them find out, through the grapevine or seeing you online and then being offended that maybe you didn't feel like you could trust them to tell them what was going on or something like that. I think it also plays a factor.
Okay. How did you get into it? That's the obvious question. You said you were quite young. How did you get into it?
I got into it when I was in college. I'd been kind of kinky and a pervert already and sexually active at a young age and exploratory. So, when I saw an ad in the newspaper, I went and you're so cute, Annabelle. I went and applied for a position working at a commercial dungeon, and I started off at 2 commercial dungeons, and then I broke off on my own fairly early on, maybe 4 years into it. So
yeah. That tends to be a very normal thing that happens. A company takes you on, and then all the guys start saying, you know what, what's your number? I can sort of do this privately and blah, blah, blah.
Right. And it's nice to be independent and not working for a company where, they're setting up appointments for you with people you might not necessarily want to see, or, for a lesser amount of money than you would want to do that kind of an elaborate scene, et cetera. So I can make all my own decisions on that, which has been great.
Decisions are very important, and especially to sort of have them and to sort of keep your sort of standards and your boundaries and stuff. Because I know, And I've met 18-year-old girls that have done collaborations with, 7 or 8 men, and I'm like, why have you done that? Like, and it's like, oh, the agency set me up, like, and it's just like,
Yeah.
there's no morals in that. It's just literally just chuck this person under the bus. No guarantee of success, no guarantee of like the fame that they want, and
Yeah.
it's quite hard. So it's very important to keep that independence.
It's very early on to get thrown into something that crazy and massive. Yeah. I'm glad I didn't have that happen to me, but I don't shoot that much triple X content um, in that sort of aspect. But yeah.
Okay. Would you say it's more private what you do? It's like one-on-one sort of thing. It's not if you record it, it's obviously for your if you decide to put it out. But most of what you do is like private. Would you say?
All the sessions that I do are private. Occasionally, I have clients that want to be filmed. And that requires obviously the model release, all the paperwork, the exchange of IDs. We'll have people email me for sessions and they see that I shoot all these video clips and they're like, I really don't want to be in one of your videos. And it's like, good, because I don't want to spend the 45 minutes doing paperwork and going over everything and then, editing it and sending it to you for your approval. It's like, no, you're not going to be on camera unless it's something that we're setting up is to do a specific video. My sessions are very much one-on-one. Or I see couples, on occasion. So
Wow.
yeah, everything's very private here.
Can you remember your first assignment or first job or whatever?
I can remember a couple, and actually, when I started, I kept a journal of which I have since thrown out because if forbid anything happened to me, if someone found this, it's just like very intense and not something I would want out there, but I still have a lot of those memories. And I know we're live on a lot of different platforms, and I have to be kind of guarded about how I word things.
I think we're okay, to be fair. YouTube, as long as obviously you can't, as long as it's not explicit. But we are. We're not on TikTok at the minute. TikTok is the one that picks on you a lot. But
Right. One of the first scenes I did was with someone that had seen everyone at the house I was at, was clearly in the industry as a client for a long time, that was into large object insertion.
oh, okay.
So specifically produce. So he would go to the grocery store ahead of time and you could pick out whatever produce you wanted him to bring in. Of course, I'd always say things like pineapple, which he's not going to bring in and obviously isn't safe because of the little spines and texture. But he would, call ahead of time and ask like, what do you want me to bring in? So it could be any sort of produce, even if it's like smaller cherry tomatoes. With something like that, you're going for quantity, right? I'm still trying to be very careful, and I think my eyes watering a bit from laughing already. But that was very entertaining and someone that was like a good start to playing. But it was maybe only like 2 weeks of doing training at this house I was at before. I was just jumping into doing sessions one-on-one. So you really didn't get a whole lot of training, and it was up to you to read books on your own and ask questions and kind of do your own research. But you had this environment of being in a commercial setting where there were others around that you could ask questions to, but they were also your peers that were also 19, 20, 22 at the same time. So they didn't have a lot more information or experience than I did when I started. But yeah, that's one of the first scenes I can remember that was, that's very memorable.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything? Can you remember a time where you just said no, not happening? Someone's asked for something, and you just said nope, not happening at all.
Back in those days, I don't think I had a choice of saying no.
Really?
They expect you to go through with it. Yeah, I didn't really. When I started, they asked if there were things I didn't want to do, so we went over that right away. And there wasn't that many things I didn't want to do. But in my personal life, now that I've been independent for over 20 years, there's a lot of clients that I've said no to, be it that you could tell with their attitude that it's a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, when they email, you can tell that there's a little bit of anger, rejection underneath them. They word things in a very bossy way. They're not submissive. And I can always get a feeling like they're not going to be a good match for me.
Yeah.
And when I respond back to them and say, I don't think we're compatible, times out of 10, they respond with saying something like,
Yeah,
"You're a bitch." And it's like, I saw that one coming. And this is
yeah,
exactly why I don't want to play with you
yeah.
is you can,
I've had I've had this experience before with like dominatrix, like especially when they start moving on to the OF world, like you get
Mhm.
men that just like on OF, unfortunate, well, whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, but the men kind of want to have the power, unless they don't. But there's certainly a certain lot of men that want to hear you being submissive to them, and that being obviously being a true dominatrix, you never break character. I'm assuming you never break character.
No, I mean, there's not really much difference from Maya Sinstress, persona, and Maya the person. There's really not much difference there. I just have to be a little bit more tolerant and polite in the real world than I
Well,
do in my work life.
well,
Annabelle.
um, when you say that, you need to be more tolerant. Explain.
I just have to have more patience on a day-to-day basis. So if I'm in line at the supermarket and someone cuts in front of me, I'm not going to be like, "You're a bitch," and slap them across the face and tell them to get back to the line where they belong. I'm not going to do that. I just have to be like, "Okay, I'm not going to say anything, even though I think this guy's a jerk or whoever."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know obviously you got to word this carefully, but a lot of dominatrix that I've spoken to, especially ones that have done it for a while, they do sometimes lose a grip on reality, and sometimes just like what you said, they could be in a shop and because they see men
Sure.
as
Yeah.
almost like work almost, and it's like almost like hitting them. Like I had this woman say to me, she was I can't remember, sure she was in a nightclub or something, and she saw this guy, and then she sort of like grabbed him by the throat thing, and she just like lost track of herself for a minute, like because it was like this is what
Yeah.
she's used to doing. So
Well, at least she recognizes that she started doing that. I don't know if it's a term by you, but out here we call it Dom disease,
hmm
where someone's in that headspace like 24/7 and doesn't understand that there's an actual world outside of the world they've created.
mm.
So,
Mm. What do you think the obsession nowadays with men wanting to be dominated? I know it's always been there, but what do you think? Where do you think that comes from?
I mean, I think a lot of it comes from an access to porn, like a broader access to porn.
Yeah.
I think it certainly comes from an emphasis on specifically jerk off instructions now, right? Which I wouldn't necessarily consider that something that would be an everyday occurrence for playing on a BDSM spectrum, but it's such a common thing now that I think a lot more people fetishize being controlled while they masturbate. I think that's why there's a lot of draw to it and people wanting to be submissive, but they don't actually understand what that means. I think a lot of people that are into it now are just into it for the control, the orgasm control aspects, which really doesn't have anything to do with domination. Domination from my perspective. She's just going to keep doing it, so we
No,
got to
you're
go.
fine. I said Catgate always gets views on social media. So why don't you introduce your cat for us? I know. Did you do it properly?
This is
Introduce.
Lady Annabelle Purrington. Yeah.
There's that video. I don't know if you saw that video. Apparently, if you lift the cat up from under the arms like that, they do this weird stretch and they stretch themselves out. I don't know if you've seen that. You lift
I
them up under
haven't.
their arms,
I
and
haven't.
they sort of just sort of do like they sort of do some crazy sort of like yoga stretch like that. If you lift them up under the arms from the back, apparently, it's quite
She'll
interesting.
probably stretch out all the way. She doesn't like to be picked up that much, so I don't want to attempt it with her, but
Fair enough. Fair enough. Don't want any animal cruelty going on.
absolutely not.
Um, so I mean, where do you go from here in terms of like the dominatrix scene and stuff? Where are you with this sort of the whole thing? Like, is there an end goal? Like, do you want to be? Because I imagine you're a bit like me, and you're in your like probably I'm 40, so I imagine you're around my sort of age, and you know,
Yeah.
where do you see it going? Like, where do you want it to go next 10 years?
Well, the first time in my life, I got a day job a few years ago
Wow.
because I recognized I need to set myself up for retiring. That I'm not always going to be in this industry, right? 26 years almost is a really long time, so it's not going to continue on for forever. But I do have a couple more years in me, and my ultimate plan is to retire and move down to New Orleans. And when I do, I'll keep those submissives that have been with me for a long time, but I'm not going to see new people. I'll probably turn my website off, Hopefully, still get residuals from my videos though.
Yeah. Of course, that's the thing. That's the thing. When you've got a body of work,
Yeah.
when people discover you, there's like I know people that obviously they've been in the industry for 20 years or something, and then they've literally just restarted their content from when they were 20, and they just sort of refunnel it through, and
Right.
it does very well for people, like
Sure.
um, yeah, but it is like you talk about retirement and stuff, like I'm quite caught up at the minute with like a lot of people I speak to from America. They talk about how expensive it is out there at the minute. Like
Oh, absolutely.
the price of an ambulance, like the price of going to the hospital, the price of getting sick. Like the biggest causes of bankruptcy is like medical health and stuff like that.
I
Medical
am one of
insurance.
the people here that does not have insurance. So unless it's something that's really drastic, I don't go to a doctor. I do have 6 cats here, and some of them are very sick, and we seek medical care all the time, including this morning. I was at the vet.
Wow.
And it's so ridiculously expensive that it's really unaffordable for any sort of healthcare here for people or animals.
I just think that's ruthless. I think that is just ruthless. Like
It doesn't make any sense, and I'm actually going to get my passport renewed so I can go down to Mexico to get all the prescriptions I need for my cats, because going out of the country to do that would be much cheaper than trying to obtain them here.
and I didn't even think about obviously I was thinking about humans, like but if you do have pets, if you do have pets as well, then I imagine that's obviously quite a painful thing, like because if you're literally watching your pet sick and stuff, and you can't physically afford to pay for something because it's just ridiculous, like
Yeah,
like you can potentially, you've got people that could be just sitting there with like watching their pets die, sort of thing, like and
yeah, because
that's
they
that,
can afford it. I don't know
that's
what healthcare is like by you. What do you have access to?
everything is I'm in the UK. Everything is free.
Yeah,
Everything is free. I can call 20 ambulances tonight, and I won't get no medical charge. Like obviously we pay our taxes.
right.
We pay our taxes and stuff, and national insurance is like a contributor to stuff like that. But like honestly, people in this country, they're very caught up on Donald Trump, and we got like the extreme far right over here, and they love Donald Trump, and they think Donald Trump's the savior, and they're like, I want to go live in America. I'm like, no, you don't, mate. You
No, you
really you
really
and also as well, this is the people at the bottom of the economic ladder as well saying
don't.
these things. It's normally, unfortunately, I don't like to pick on the bottom of the economic ladder, but unfortunately it's the people at the bottom that you see on TV because they've got nothing to lose, like and they're the ones more likely to do something crazy and stuff. But these are the ones with absolutely nothing, thinking that Donald Trump wants them over there. Like Donald Trump's for the rich and the wealthy. That's who he's for.
Right. So coming over here, nothing,
No,
nothing was good about it for them.
no, and they don't, like, we have a massive problem in this country of young people that refuse to work. Like all day, all most it's a big. They literally will say something. There's a simple sort of catchphrase. My mental health is bad. I can't get up. I can't get up. I've got a bad back. Like do you think Donald Trump wants people like that? Like no. He's getting rid of the Mexicans that have been there for 20 years, and they're actually working as well. You think he wants people to come over that that have got bad, because this is what you can literally, in this country, you can literally say you've got a bad back and you're feeling suicidal, and you'll get signed off work, and you'll get all your rent paid, all your bills paid. You'll have a nice roof over your head. Like you
Wow.
can have as many kids as you want and get as many benefits as you want. Like so this is why people are getting in. This is why people are getting in boats and swimming over here right now. Unfortunately,
That would not happen here. If that were the situation here and you couldn't work and take care of yourself, you would inevitably end up on the streets. And like here in Las Vegas, we have tunnels that are underground that go all throughout the city. And we have something like 20,000 people living in these tunnels. And
that
now
is
they're kicking people out of the tunnels. So they're having to find new places to live. When clearly Donald Trump doesn't want any of them on the streets, but it's not providing an alternative option for housing. So that's what would happen here is you'd be in the tunnels and then kicked out of the tunnels and have nothing to your name, no way of supporting
I,
yourself. Um,
I did not know about these tunnels. Please tell me more about these tunnels.
I don't know if they're in every city, but they're in a lot of cities. For us, they're irrigation tunnels. But yeah, they're in most major
And there's
cities.
just thousands of people just living in these tunnels, and
They live underground. They're called the mole people.
no
Yeah,
way.
they live underground. There's documentaries on them, and there's
Wow,
an organization out here that's called Shine a Light Foundation. They actually go into the tunnels to try to get people out and provide them with housing and food and medical care.
wow. That is it safe? Have you ever been down there?
I've not been in the tunnels yet. I did want to volunteer, but their volunteer days, I believe, are Saturdays still. And I already volunteer a lot for another organization, so I don't have time right now to start with them. But
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I've not been into the tunnels, but I'm not
Well,
opposed to going around and helping and doing
where
outreach.
where do you stand on the political spectrum then? Are you a red or are you a blue?
I'm not a political person. I 100% do not support Donald Trump. I'm more, we're in this for the greater good of everyone, and we need to take care of each other and our planet and our future. And that means joining together. But I wouldn't say I'm on either side, but I'm definitely not with Donald Trump.
Yeah, I feel like this is where a lot of people are like a lot of rational people are ending up in the middle where they say, look, I'm not for this, I'm not for that. I agree. I think most of us can agree on what makes sense. There's some common sense stuff that even Donald Trump says. There's some common sense stuff. There's some things that he says where I think, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Like like just listening to him talking about, I think it was L.A. and New York where there's like 20 deaths. I don't know what it is, 20 deaths a week or 5 deaths a week, shootings every day, and he said that he wants to put the military in there to sort of, to take on the gang, so to speak. Like,
Right.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't like the mayors don't seem to want to be able to deal with the crime. Like, and you can't have because you got ordinary people, especially in the black communities. You got ordinary people that are scared to go out, and the only thing that protects them is if, like, they join a gang, and then they have to join a gang. Then you have to initiate yourself by the gang, and then you have to do something crazy. I feel like if the military did come in, I don't see what the problem is. That if the police can't deal with the job, and Donald Trump says he can get the military in there, and that will be a deterrent for a lot of stuff. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Getting in any military or police presence into these environments where this has been going on for years, like having gang territory wars and stuff like that, is not anything new. It is getting worse, but sending in authorities to take over is not going to end well. People will uprise for sure, and that's obviously been going on in the states in places like Portland and LA and DC, in Chicago, and here a little bit. It's just not going to go well, and we also shouldn't want to give up the little power that we have, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
shouldn't want to give it up because if you give a little, they're going to take more, and that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, but just what's the answer though? If people are going to continuously just shoot each other every day, like what is the answer? Like surely surely someone's got to say, right, I've got to take an iron fist to take on these gangs because
What about
normal
taking a fist? No,
an
I'm
I.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Sorry, went from this. This happens a lot with me. We always somehow ends up in politics or somewhat, and then we're talking about dominatrix stuff, and then we go over to politics and stuff,
Sure.
and stretching cats and all the rest of it.
I don't have an answer though. I'm not in politics. I don't have an answer. I just
Okay.
try to take care of
Good,
myself and my family and my
good
crew
answer.
around
Good
me and
answer.
the
Good answer.
environment. So
Yeah, and that's quite that's quite a scary thing as well for women. Like just going back to like if you don't have the money, especially to retire, then you could probably and like they were saying that I was watching this documentary and they were saying that single women most of the time end up homeless by the time they're a certain age because of obviously they haven't got an extra income helping them like supplement their income and stuff and just cost of living purely like just to be able to retire at a certain age you kind of need something. In this country
right.
you can retire in this country you can be a deadbeat your whole life until you're 70 and then you're going to get put in a lovely retirement home, not a lovely retirement home, but you're going to be putting somewhere nice and warm and stuff like that. um,
Sure.
but in America, there's like women are ending up that have made the wrong decisions, that have partied too long, are ending up on the streets.
Sure. And it's really sad. Obviously, one of the things that's not talked about when you start doing adult work is how to plan for your future,
100%.
how to put money aside, take half of everything that you're making, and it should go into your future because you don't know what's going to happen. And especially if you're doing hardcore porn rather than doing something just like domination, your body is definitely looked at more and looked at differently. And the minute that 18-year-old girl that's doing her, 8-person blow bang or whatever it is, gets to be like 25, you know,
I
that's
think this
her period's over.
it's
So
and the only way I like the only way to deal with that as well is most likely drugs, because no one like these young girls nowadays that are doing all these crazy things, like they're going to find it very difficult to find someone that's going to take them seriously for a relationship. Like, they will find, like, women will always find men that will jump up and down on them, like, give them the love bomb just to get the goods from them. Women are always going to find that you could have one eye, one leg, one boob, and men will still jump up and down on you. Unfortunately,
that's very true.
that's where men are at the minute. But
Yes.
even those men at the lowest of the lowest, like, they will not take that woman seriously. So it always scares me when I see these young girls getting in the industry and Flygate over here now. Um, and then they just, like, it's like the only way to deal with it is drugs, and you see them and then end up prostituting themselves,
Yeah.
up in their 40s and stuff, and then it's a horrible spiral. And often what's led them there is obviously some sort of childhood trauma as well, which is even sadder when you think about it, or they've been trafficked. But with Dominatrix, I feel like at least you still maintain the control a little bit. Like, there's a little bit of, you're the dom side of it, if you know what I mean.
And I think as a professional dominatrix, even though I had a lot of clientele when I was younger, I get more serious clientele now because they want someone that has that full life experience. The clients I see tend to play a lot harder and heavier, and they want someone that knows how to handle that. So, someone in their early 20s wouldn't be in the same position of knowing how to create these intense scenarios and leading someone through it safely, and in a fun and erotic way.
Hmm.
It just
Hmm.
wouldn't be capable for someone 23 to do as opposed to someone in their mid 40s. So I think that Dom's age a little bit more like a fine wine. We got more appreciation. And even though we thin out over the years, a lot of the ladies that I started with are no longer around, but there's still a few
What do you think they're doing now? The ones that are not.
hardworking ladies that are out there and still like making video content. You'll see them up in the, top 50 on clips for sale, and they're still cranking it out. Some of the ladies that I know are retired or in the medical field. Some of them, what do you call it? They've gone to school to do facial injections like
Yeah,
Botox.
yeah, yeah. Cosmetic,
Yeah,
light cosmetics. Yeah, that seems to be quite a common trend, to be honest. If you're getting into that,
yeah,
um, it's a tricky one as well, because obviously sometimes you get women that try and sort of like go into the management side and obviously start promoting women, move it, like, moving them around. But now with the well, it's always been there with the trafficking laws. Like, to be a sex trafficker now, you literally just have to, in America,
sure.
you just literally have to invite a lady from LA to New York, different states, isn't it? And then that's classed as trafficking. So
Hundred
it's
100%.
do you agree with that?
Yeah, the laws have gotten very weird here now. And I remember, I think it's when 2257 first started. I think that's the one that it was, where Backpage had to come down and things about trafficking had changed to where if you were promoting women on your website for in person interactions, or anyone, I should say, on your website for in person interactions of any sexual nature for money, you could be arrested for pimping and pandering, trafficking. I don't have anyone else listed on my site. I don't rent out my space anymore where I used to all the time. That was a huge source of my income, was renting out my space. I don't do any of that anymore. It's just very scary.
It is.
Scary. And the
Yeah,
laws change all the time.
it
Something
is.
now could be illegal tomorrow that they're gonna come back on me for and say, "Well, you did that." I'll be like, "Well, that was on
Yeah,
Tuesday, and today
yeah.
is Wednesday."
Yeah,
So
it's really scary. Like, obviously,
yeah,
I'm in management myself, and, like, just I kind of prefer to stay with sort of like women of my sort of age and older rather than the younger girls. Um, just purely because, it's just crazy. Like, because, like, a lot of people think, like, for someone that manages women and stuff like that in terms of the OF space and stuff, like, they think it's like well, the common stigma is pimping, basically digital pimping, basically.
sure.
And I don't know if you want to get like, I don't know, but it's so much more like work, like, typing, freaking helping people with different sort of ideas and stuff like that, rather than sending women out to go. Like, that's something I would never sort of recommend to any woman doing collaborations. Like, especially when they're just getting started. Like, it's probably the worst thing you can do, because once you show the men everything straight away, they don't want to see it. It's become a sport now for men, where they literally just find a woman. Oh yeah, hi, how are you? They have a look at her bits, and then they go on to another woman. Like, it takes a real
Sure.
skill, to keep a client, and obviously in your business, that's what you have.
Yeah. I have heard about a couple of people out here in particular who I'm obviously not going to mention, and I'm not super informed about it, but I've heard discussions with people in LA that are on TikTok that bring people in, get them to start doing OF, take a huge percentage of the money that they make off TikTok, and then get them out there and advertise for them on the very few existing platforms we have remaining for advertising for fetish sessions. And you can spot who these models are because they're charging like 3 times as much as everybody else. And that's to make up for the people who are running everything and taking that huge cut. So that definitely is going on in a lot of places. Yeah, and I'd like to know more about it so I can avoid it, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just think smart enough where I wouldn't get involved with people like that. So
Yeah, I feel sometimes, like, don't get me wrong. There's some horrible people out there. Like, I've gotten people out of so many contracts where they've signed 65%, and they've only just started. Like, this
right, yeah,
poor women with children being exploited. They've only just started, and they're not even making. Some of them aren't even making $400 a month, and someone's taking 65% of them. Like, I would say to them, like, when you're starting up, like, don't get me wrong, if you start from nowhere, you've got no platform, you've got no social media, it's going to be a really difficult job, and you're going to need some
absolutely would
yeah,
be.
to stand out in the crowd. You're going to need some sort of promotion behind you, helping you, or people come, like, because it's like, we human beings, we work off like treats. Like, the more treats we get, the more incentive we are to work harder. But this is one business where you could literally just get sleaze bags wasting your time all day long. Like, and everyone knows it. I don't need to tell you.
100%. Yeah, you could get very easily taken advantage of for not knowing the difference. And you're absolutely right. If you are just starting off, you have like not even a name yet, not a platform, you have nobody interested, you don't have a brand. It's incredibly difficult. So
Mm.
for people that are out there, they've got to be really careful. The people I'm talking about, though, are those that specifically poach people off TikTok that have had zero, absolutely zero adult
Industry
industry
experience. Yeah.
interactions, and they're like, "Oh, you look pretty doing your dancing videos. Well, let me show you this world." That kind of predatory behavior.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of women. There's a lot of women doing it on the sly as well. Like, I've noticed that as well. Like, there's a lot of women that don't do OF, and they sort of, like, I see their Instagrams. I'm like, or their TikToks, and I'm like, why on earth are you posting that? Like, that's something that I would tell someone to sell on. Like, I would only do that. Like, if
Sure,
I would only tell someone to do that is if literally, and I wouldn't tell them to do it on TikTok either. Like, that'd be on Instagram. It would be on their Earth wall. Like, just some
sure.
people, some women are doing crazy stuff on their TikTok, but they're also selling content on the sly. So, and those are the women that kind of have a lot to say about women in the industry as well. Like, oh, look at them doing that.
Sure, but they're secretly doing it behind closed doors because they see how lucrative it is, even though they don't. People
Indeed,
are not
indeed.
actually doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like, for like, just the sensation of like sex work's always been there, but in this day and age with social media, like, you've got women that just post normal pictures, like, and the ones that just post, the ones that are just generally themselves and at peace with themselves and just having a laugh, like, with their
Mhm.
stuff, that look a little bit attractive. Those women are getting messages every single day, like hundreds. Some women, hundreds. And if you get a viral video, it could be thousands of men saying, "Oh, I want to see you nude" or something like that. And then that obviously makes them think. And we're in the day and age of social media where you can see everyone living your best life on TV, so right in front of you every day. So it becomes, a lot of women are tempted in that way. So it's difficult.
It's difficult. I mean, I don't know how people are getting away with posting spicy things at all on these platforms. I don't I don't know what number I'm on for Instagram. It's probably got to be my eighth or ninth account to the point where I really don't add anything that's too controversial these days. I mostly post hiking videos. a couple kind of spicy pics that are fully covered because anything gets you pulled,
Yeah, and
especially on TikTok too. It's
yeah,
like I'm getting
TikTok, Tik
thing.
TikTok has got something against the curvaceous women, like women with something with some real sort of like assets and stuff.
Sure.
They get pulled. I see skinny girls getting away with stuff all the time, but because it's a curvier woman, bigger bust and stuff, you're done for straight away. And
Especially if they're wearing any sort of kind of flesh tones like this, but not covered up, it's like that video is going to get taken down right away.
indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
So what's a common request then? What's a common request like? So if a guy wanted to come and see you, what would be like the average? What's the average request for a guy with you?
Well, my specialty is heavy bondage. So I'm sitting with a padded wall behind me right now, and I've got chains coming in.
Okay.
I'm keeping it tame in a pretty clean background because the rest of my house is not, but I'm sitting on a bondage chair too. But most of the people that I have come in for, I'd say between 4 and 6 hour sessions that want heavy bondage with kind of mind games, mental manipulation, kind of training them, psychologically tormenting them, and then bringing them back to, a good headspace, a submissive, floaty headspace. Kind of mixed in with some humiliation and degradation, which is my other specialty. But I cater to a lot of different kinks. I do a lot of medical play, rubber bondage, you name it. Any sort of role play, if it's fun, I'll give it a shot. Chances are I have a lot of experience with it. Cuckolding, sometimes I'll do public outings.
Yeah, that's become very popular on social media. Especially, I've seen a lot of girls doing that for reels on on Instagram actually, taking
What
them
were
in
they doing?
taking them into the cash points, making them crawl like dogs, basically on the lead,
So,
making them push the trolleys dressed up as a woman with a face mask on or something like that.
sure, yeah. That sounds like a more British thing to do. And you guys have all the cool companies out there, like Honor and Atsuko Kudo have all like the good rubber bondage and like Texas clothing companies out there. So I could see that much more so happening out there. But
What have you guys got then?
for public stuff here, I was more thinking taking someone to an adult bookstore and like, putting them up to a glory hole dressed as like a sissy maid with like a sign on them that says something vulgar that I'm not even going to come up with something now because it's going to be censored.
So you would take someone publicly dressed up as a sissy and take them to a glory hole, and
Sure.
what would men come along and actually visit this glory hole, or?
Oh, absolutely. It's pretty common here to have adult bookstores, even in small towns. And there's glory holes in a lot of them that have like the arcade booths. And in Las Vegas in particular, we have a lot of swingers clubs here. So there's a lot of kinky things going on. A lot of them have dungeon rooms. They all have glory holes. So taking them to a place like that where it's a controlled public environment where you can get away with that kind of behavior without offending the general public.
So would they be masked up to sort of protect their identity as well? Then would they all?
Sometimes it can be, absolutely. Um, I'm more someone to embarrass, like, I would rather embarrass a client by putting them in like a ratty mullet wig with like really bad smeared makeup than like an
Okay,
elegant rubber doll hood.
okay,
I
okay.
can do both, but
So
yeah.
so role play is kind of your thing then, is it?
Yeah, that's one of them. See,
Okay,
bondage, humiliation, medical play, role play, all those
okay,
things
okay.
together.
How about we play a quick game? I'm going to be a client calling you up on the phone, and you're going to go through your pitch, so to speak.
All right, let me get a sip of my energy drink.
Let me get a sip of my water, actually.
I will say that my phone number is not out on the internet, so
Okay,
people can't just call me up other than
okay,
through a service where they pay to talk to me, like Night Flirt or Sex Panther. People can call there and pay to talk to me.
okay,
My general number is not out there.
okay. Ring, 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 ring. Hello, hello. Is that Maya Sinstress?
Hello, this is Miss Maya. Who am I speaking with?
I'm Breadsy.
Hi, Bretzi. What are you calling about today?
Well, I've seen some of your content online, and it's very interesting. I feel like I may want to book an appointment to see you.
Oh, very interesting. Do you have any actual experience playing, or you just have experience through watching videos?
I've been playing with myself for the last 20 years, if that counts.
That does not count. Have you seen any professional dominatrix before? Do you have any references?
Uh, I like toes, so I like the thought of people tickling my feet. Is that something you could do?
Well, it's unfortunate you're not answering my question, so I think we'll have to continue on with email from here on out.
Would that fall down the creep line then? If you heard someone say that, would that fall down sort of like
If someone
someone?
doesn't answer my questions, it's automatically like,
Okay, go for it again. Go for it again. What was the question? Come, let's play along. What was the question? I forgot it.
well, I asked if you had like real time experience or if you
I've
had
had.
professional references. So if
Uh,
someone doesn't have a professional reference, the likelihood of me seeing them goes down considerably because I'm not going to take a chance on a stranger that I can't verify that they've seen someone respectable in the industry before that can verify that they're safe. If they haven't had any
ha,
bad experiences with.
is there no sort of like a threshold for that? Like no sort of benefit of the doubt. Sort of like if you haven't got a reference for someone, you're not seeing them. Is that how you are?
The leniency I have with giving someone a chance, if I believe like they could be sincere, as I will meet them for a consultation, and it would be someplace in public, like going to get coffee, um, meeting at a park, something like that, getting lunch, and having a conversation with them, and kind of feeling it out. I will not see someone for a consultation and then immediately play with them afterwards, which is what everybody's hoping for.
Hmm.
But it's like if nobody has a reference and I go and talk with them, I still want a good like day to process because I could have missed a flag that was there. And then I think about it the next day and it's like, yeah, that doesn't make sense to
Have
me.
you
That person could be a cop. That person could have like a criminal record that I'm missing in screening because I haven't gotten the correct phone number, things like that. So,
okay?
but yeah, that's
Have you ever got yourself in any sort of dangerous situations with that?
no, but I've had two or three people show up that haven't had the correct amount of money and they were just instantly kicked out. It's like, no, don't insult me by doing this. You have to leave. So,
Okay. So if I wanted to book a 6 hour session with you, I've got all the right tools, I've got all the right references, so to speak. How much would it cost to book a 6 hour session with you, and what would that entail?
well, I'm not going to discuss specifics of money because I do
Oh
have
yeah.
a standard rate, but the standard rate's not standard. There's variations. Someone wants, full rubber. That's going to cost more. Someone wants, something crazy that's going to require extra props I don't have, it's going to cost more. So I don't give direct quotes unless I'm speaking to someone about what they want specifically.
Hmm.
But if you were to call or email rather and want a book, I would get a screening free. Ugh, I need some more Red Bull. I've been up since I think 6:30 my time already. Mm. I would get a screening fee, and I would check that person's reference. I would send them an email or talk to them on the phone and make sure the person is who they say they are. None of this is the exciting part about it. But then after they're verified, I set up a call with that potential client then and we talk on the phone. I actually have someone coming in from the UK next week that I just went through this process with.
Well,
But I talk with them on the phone for 10, 15 minutes, get more of a sense of what we have in common, and then start planning it out. And then I usually get a deposit for something that long that's a considerable amount. And then I give them the address the day before they come in or the day of. So that's typically how that process goes. It's
hmm.
not very exciting, but
It sounds very very professional and very business-like, which is obviously why you've stayed in business for so long, and obviously you seem to be doing very well for yourself and stuff.
well,
But I
because that's
was
a business. And I think people forget that, especially the clients forget that. They're like, why aren't you ready to see me right now? I want to play right now. And it's like, this is a business. I have protocol. I'm not just sitting here dressed in a corset and stilettos every second of the day. Like I have cats running around. I have to clean. People don't realize that it's a business and they get really, I don't know, just super excited with the thought of playing that they don't think about that.
Yeah, and do you know what? I imagine, like, I imagine you will lose some business. You will lose some business, but you'll attract more of the elite sort of client that you kind of want anyway with that sort of process, because they don't. No one wants to like an elite businessman and a powerful person in the real world. He doesn't want to feel like he's phoning up a prosy or something like that. Like, oh yeah, meet me around the corner. Like, so the transactional side of it obviously is quite appealing. That's obviously why you've obviously stayed in business very well. What
What kind
about
of good clients? The ones that are kind of deterred from my screening process are the ones that want to come in for a half hour or an hour session while they're visiting Vegas and they just found my website an hour ago. And those aren't clients I necessarily want. And that's what makes people burnt out is when the providers try to see all of those clients and think that all money is good money, which it's not. They get burnt out by seeing these like vampire energy suckers that are not worth the time or investment in playing with. So I stick to those that are respectful, book like a month out, that want to come in for longer scenes and appreciate my time.
what would you say to a 21-year-old girl thinking about getting into this industry?
What aspect of the industry? Even though it's all the industry, there's different aspects. So it would,
The dominatrix industry. That seems to be something that's popular for young girls right now. Like, just seems to be. They seem to be getting in. If you look on, you just have to look on Instagram. All these young girls are doing dominatrix now.
At first, I'm going to tell you that I moved to Las Vegas like 7 years ago. And when I started going out when I got here to meet people and, check out what the industry was like, I met all these women. I'm like, what do you do for a living? And they're like, I cam and I'm a dominatrix. And it's like, oh, okay. And I would never tell them that I'm a legit dominatrix that sees people, in person for 20 years. And then I'd ask them questions, which I'd be fascinated by, like, what's your favorite bondage implement? And I'd be like, well, I don't actually see clients in person. And that's a huge difference to me between like an Instagram dom and a real time dom. I'm not going to fully discredit them, but if you're only playing with people online, like
Hmm.
you're kind of not a full dominatrix. It's a different aspect of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not shaming anyone, but if someone were asking for advice now, I'd say that it's a very hard time to get into the industry, especially because around the US, there aren't as many commercial dungeons like how I started where you could get training in person.
Hmm.
That makes a huge difference. And it makes it a lot less safe to not have a community that you can learn from and get started with. There's also a lot of scam artists out there that are DOMs that have some experience that are offering these intensive seminars for like $1,000 for new DOMs. And it just feels like such a cash grab to me.
Mm.
I'd say it's a bad time to get started and to watch out for just scam artists. And they can be men or women, they can be DOMs too.
I get this I get being in an industry myself. Like, I get this all the time. Like, I'm a man, so I have to work almost 1,000 times harder than a woman would have to. But then, like, I say to people, like, this woman is charging you 60%. She's taking 60% of your money. Like, she's doing nothing. Like, she's using chatters from Thailand or whatever it is. Like,
Right. Yeah.
where, like, I'm sort of all in house, like, with what I do and stuff. And I like, personally myself, I don't charge any more than 25% when I'm working with people, because I don't feel that, like, if I had a massive, like, if I had like millions of followers and stuff like that, then fair enough, because that's gonna, like, just one reel. Like, I did a podcast with this person, and one of the reels that she done got about 200,000 views, and I wasn't managing them or anything like that. So that probably built a lot of traffic to the OF, like, and
Sure. Yeah.
this is where we are. It's just like one reel, and one reel can turn you into a millionaire, literally, if you've got a product on the end of it. Like,
Yeah.
there's a really good dominatrix. I don't know if she's American or not, but she basically had this guy, and she threw him in a pond, and she had him on a leash, and it was obviously attached to what, like,
Sure. Yeah.
and she was pulling him like that. And I think it's on X now, and I think last time I checked, it had about 20 million views. She's got the OF link there. She smashed it, like, just that
Sure.
one video. She's killed it, like, X, boom, straight there.
But in all reality, if we're looking at the rules of OF, like I'm sure they're the same by you, but you can't have public things anymore.
we seem to
It's
be
like
get.
you can have private or public and a private setting, I think is what you have to put it in as. So it's like you can't have that outdoor stuff anymore. And
y-
everyone needs a model release, even if it's a voice that you hear off camera saying cut that you forgot to edit out of your scene. If
Yeah,
that voice doesn't have a model release, like OF is going to kick it off right away. So
yeah, yeah,
congrats
and
to them for getting it to
yeah,
be on there and yeah, keeping it up.
yeah, for sure. I think in my experience with OF and stuff, they tend to go after the bigger creators. They don't like until you attract their attention, like until you're at least in the top 3%. They're not normally that. Obviously, with faces and voices, you have to put the model release forms and stuff. But yeah, they don't seem to be that bad. But yeah, but I just thought it was it. I sit back at the minute and I admire people that have gone the extra way to do a reel or something like that, and I'm just like, that is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. It looks great. Like it's got the views. It deserves it. But it's just the market is just saturated at the minute, isn't it? It's just crazy.
It's so saturated. You've really got to do crazy things and figure out how to get them on social media without getting your account banned for you to take off. It's just
Mhm,
so oversaturated. It's hard to get yourself out there.
mhm,
I'm thankful that I've been around since the dinosaurs, so people know who I am. So,
mhm.
oh, we have another cameo. This is Princess.
Oh wow! Hello, hello, princess.
But I've been around for a long time, and people will
Wow,
periodically remember me and look me up, and then they'll join my page and binge on all my videos.
wow.
Last night, someone bought like $300 worth of my religious fetish videos, and I woke up seeing like I'm top 2 in clips for sale for religious now, and it's like because one person probably forgot I existed and then bought like all of them last night.
Wow,
I'm
wow,
lucky for that to have a reputation, but if you're starting off with no reputation and
wow.
trying to make money off your content, you've got to be creative, be weird, and it's like all doing advertising and publicity.
It's a real grind, honestly. It's a real
Yeah.
challenge. So what about? I sense everything. I sense all the good things from you. You've got your head screwed on. Beautiful lady. You seem like you're a very elegant woman. You're making money. What about love?
I think I mentioned I have 6 cats. I don't really date. I'm not really interested in that right now. Um, I might have to move my cat for a second. She's playing with the bag. Is that coming up on audio or no?
It's not too bad. No, I've got like software that will remove anything anyway. So don't worry about it. What about love? What about
Uh,
love? Is it
I don't
important to you?
really No, I was, very sexually promiscuous in my 20s and in my 30s, and now that I'm older, my focus
I didn't
is
say sex. I didn't say sex. Now I said love. I think you're sidestepping over it.
more. I'm not trying to sidestep. I'm just saying, like, I've had my fill of that, and I've had my fill of love, and
Okay.
now that I'm older, my focus has been more on buying a house, being responsible, setting up for my future, making plans, and I don't necessarily want to have love or have someone in my life that I now have to consider their emotions and feelings as well. Like I want to do my own thing.
That's literally the text. That's literally the textbook answer. Every like women,
It's
women
true.
not even just in the industry, but women in general now are saying that they basically they like career women, like I would class you as a
Yeah.
career woman, like career women are saying they just can't be asked for men, like they can't be asked for men, and they literally just like just doing their thing, making their money. But some like when I watch like the sort of later like 20 years later interviews of like some women, there are some regrets, like being like, for instance, being lonely and stuff like that. And obviously love having like, obviously you're a beautiful woman, you're still a beautiful woman, you've got lovely assets and stuff, so men will always want to come and spend time with you and stuff like that anyway. But having someone that loves you for who you are and stuff like that, does that play any sort of part in there?
I suppose if I was like an insecure person that needed that, then it could come into play. But I love myself and I feel like that's enough. And like I said, I have 6 cats. I don't feel like I need that care from someone else. If I got like in an accident and had something wrong and I needed someone to take care of me, then yeah, I would be kind of fucked on that aspect. I would hope that I would have enough friends that would come in to help me, but on a day-to-day basis. I don't need affirmations from someone else because I've got all that I need right here. I've set
Yeah.
myself up to be self-sufficient without having to rely on other people, and that's more been my focus in my 40s than finding love.
Yeah. No, I respect it, but I see it a lot. I see, like, beautiful women, and I just think to
Mhm.
myself, like, some of them have regrets. I've spoken to people, like, I've spoken to 60-year-old women and stuff like that that have been in the industry for years, and some of them have had regrets, and like you said, some of them have also fallen down the wayside where they've got sick and not been able to work, not been able to manage their money, and then ended up in a horrible situation. And unfortunately, like, the people doing well is probably at the 3%, 5%. So that means 95% with women with the same attitude as you are going to end up alone, sad, and most likely on the street somewhere. So that's
Then
the
I'm going to
reality.
be calling you up. I'm going to be calling you up.
No, that you'll be fine. 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 You will be fine. 100% you will be fine. I don't have any concerns with what you are, but I feel like that's why I put you. I don't, you're probably in that top 5% of women that were gonna do and achieve your goals and do what you want to do. But
I'm
I
going
feel
to
like,
be just fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I just feel like the other 95% of the women, like, it's not it's that high. 95% of women
It is
that
high. It is
that
that high. I'm
night
sure
like
it is. I'm sure it is.
yeah, no. If you even look at OnlyFans, the top 3% on OnlyFans is about $2,500 a month. Like, the top 3%. There's
Yeah.
millions of creators on there. Most creators only make about $400 a month. Like,
So,
so you've got that percentage rate, and then you've got women with the same sort of thinking, independent. I don't want a man, and blah blah blah. And in America, in this country, I say to the women all the time, you are bloody lucky you live in England, because at least no matter what happens, you're always going to have a roof over your head. You're always going to get your benefits. You're always going to get looked after. These women in America, some of them are selling their bodies at 60 and 70 years old. Like, it's really, really sad. It's really sad. But, just,
it
yeah,
is sad that that's what it would take to survive. But, unfortunately, that's the case in some places. It certainly is here, and it's
yeah,
certainly going to be the case for a lot of these women when their OF money runs out and they don't have any skills to fall
backups.
back on. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and normally,
Start investing now. Invest now. Find
invest now,
another career. Yes.
invest now and try to stay off the drugs and alcohol. Like, that's a big thing. If you the moment some of them, it's honestly, if you see what's happening to some of these young kids nowadays, it's it's heartbreaking. I'm someone that's really, when I get a story from someone, I'll always listen, and when I get the story, it sort of sticks with me as well. But
Or, yeah.
it really does stick with me, and then, like, I feel like want to try and help them, and then you just feel like you can't help this person. They're literally, you've come up with a game plan, you've come up with everything. You said, right, let's do this. You've got them working out and stuff, and it's just like, oh, I can't be asked. I'm smoking. I'm drugs on the drugs, like. But
Mhm.
Maya Sinstress, it has been a lovely chat, lovely meeting you. Thank you for giving us this
Thank
insight
you for
into your
having me.
life. It's been amazing. Just tell everyone. Give yourself an advertisement board, 30 seconds. Tell everyone where you are, if they want to find you, if they want to buy a video, where can they go?
My direct website is senstress.net for booking sessions. My main clips for sale is My Fetish Addictions. I'm pretty much on every platform. OF, Loyal Fans, Maya Senstress. And I'm on Instagram, TikTok, all of that. The name's going to change depending on when you see this because you get kicked off social media all the time. But Maya Senstress pretty much all around the board, and my links are always directly listed on senstress.net. So that's the easiest way to find me.
Mayor Sinstress, thank you very much for joining me. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to end the broadcast, and then we will have a
Sure.
little
Sounds good.
pre-after chat. Guys, make sure you go and follow her. She's been a lovely guest. I can only imagine what sort of content she's got there. I might be able to persuade her to put a couple of free trial links in the bio for you guys, but we'll see what happens. Peace and love to you guys.